This is a replay of Let's Talk Nigeria on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar, making Nigeria better, one conversation at a time.
We talk everything. Health, education, finance, sports, transportation, agriculture, politics,
entertainment,
people and power on Let's Talk Nigeria. Let's Talk Nigeria. Every day of the week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar. Your radio, your shine.
It is a Friday, January the 24th, 2025, and it is a significant day right here in Crossover State. Welcome to Let's Talk Nigeria, broadcasting live on Sparkling 92.3 FM, your radio, your shine. We're broadcasting live from Lemna. Well, today, on the Funky Freaky Friday edition of it, we're looking at a significant development this week. The Nigerian Communications Commission approved a 50% increase in telecommunication tariffs, making the first adjustment since 2013. This decision comes in response to rising operational costs and aims to balance industry sustainability with consumer affordability, so they said. The announcement, however, has sparked widespread reactions. The Nigerian Labour Congress has called on citizens to prepare for another nationwide boycott. And now I would ask, how do they intend us to do that? Anyways, they intend us to boycott telecommunication services, expressing concerns over the economic impact on Nigerians already facing financial challenges. Students somewhere in Enugu State have also voiced their concerns, stating that the increased tariffs could hinder their learning and research activities. That not done. On the other hand, Finance Minister Wale Edun supports the hike, citing rising inflation as a justification for the increase. As the nation grapples with these changes and our challenges, we're not new to it. The federal government and the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has urged telecommunication operators to prioritize service improvement following the tariff increase. So today, as we delve into it, we have an economist that will help make sense of this, and also is a financial expert, no one else than Richard Inoyo. Good morning, Mr. Richard. Nice to have you here with us.
Good morning, Williams. How are you doing?
I'm very fine this morning. Okay, it's a Friday morning. Let us look at the Telecoms Tariff Hike. They said it has been a while since such an increase came on. Matter of fact, it happened last in 2013. And then they cited economic changes that would have warranted to this. But then I would want to ask first, is this a smart move from the telecommunication companies?
The truth here is that I don't hold brief for them, okay?
Yes.
But there's no way they could have survived in the market with the rise in the price of things across the country, where they themselves, even though they are actually service providers, they're also service recipients. What that simply means is that even though they provide service for you and I, they also depend on other people basically providing them with services, like from the area of supply of diesel, the area of getting their the components of the transmission line repaired every now and then the cost, outside the fact that they are even compelled by law to increase the salaries of their staff due to the minimum wage. And there are many other issues. So the truth is that there's just no way that we'll be having increase in the price of, let's say, fuel, energy tariff, interest rates, and all of these things, and somehow we want the telecommunication industry to survive without also reviewing their pricing mechanism so as to stay in the market. This is not to justify the increase in what they're doing. But the truth is that if Nigerians want to sustain their true anger, they should direct their anger to the government. The telecommunication operators didn't just wake up one day and say, we want to increase as in the core tariff or the data tariff. They are responding to the forces of government policies. And that's why if you look at some of parts when it comes to public policy, they'll tell you that while we study the causes and the consequences of policy, we also need to understand the fact that policy seems to have certain kind of effects and impacts on institutions outside government corridor. And those institutions will react to those policies either in a way that benefits the general public or in a way that does not benefit the general public. So what we're saying today is the reaction to the policy hike in price of fuel, energy tariff, interest rate, and the devaluation of the naira. So the telecommunication authorities, or rather operators, are only just responding. So that's why I feel that students, the labor union, and every other stakeholders who somehow feel that they need to challenge this hike in the policy of price increase in data and core, they should focus that energy, that aggression, that response against the government hike in the price of PMX, against the government hike in interest rates, against the government hike on energy tariff, against the devaluation of the naira. If they can actually put their forces in that direction, there will be no need for the telecommunication operators to say they want to increase the price of things. It's just like saying that
Mr. Richard, now my
other companies can't increase their price when government is actually the major driver of price increase. Like we've seen that the price of bread in the market has increased, the price of detergent has increased, the price of toothpaste has increased, even the price of Gary in Akampa has increased. Why? Because all of these operators in the various markets are all just responsible and responding to the multivariate policies of the government that seems to be inimical to stabilizing the price of goods and services in the country.
Oh, okay. Since you've made your points clear, then let us go to factors that would have led to these 50% tariff hike. Although Nigerians are clamoring against it, they don't want it. It will tell a lot on their pockets. Now, let us look at inflation, something you're an expert in, yeah? I want to ask, what specific inflationary pressure would the telecommunication operators have pointed out as the major reason for this rise, for this hike?
The truth is that when you began the program, I made it clear that even though the telecommunication operators are service providers, they are also service recipients. They also stand in a community where they receive service products and goods coming from the Nigerian market to enable them deliver their own obligations and mandates as regards making communications within the private and the public sector possible. What that simply means in the real sense, the price of, let's say, moving their diesel in the past from where they pick the diesel to, as in their plants, where they have to refill the energy points for transmission to happen. That price of PMX in the past could be, let's say, 297 naira per liter. Today, they are buying for over 1,000 naira per liter to get fuel to move their vehicles. That's one instance. In the past, let's say, for instance, in their own offices, they depend on electricity from government agencies. Like in Cross River State, for instance, they have to depend on PHED. If in the past the energy tariff was far less, today that energy tariff has basically increased by 600%. So the fundamental truth in all of this is that they themselves will have to look for a way to say they can adjust. After the fact that they're also pressurized by virtue of the Minimum Wage Act, to also increase the salaries of their staff to reflect the law as regard labor relations. So all of these factors are numerous. In the past, even when they used to probably borrow from the lending bank, from the money deposit bank, who basically clears from the central bank, at a rate that was around, let's say, give and take, less than 30%. Today, the lending rate has increased. They themselves also borrow. To think that these companies don't use debt to finance their obligation is to think that they have all the resources, which is not really the case, basically. So the conditions across board right now has made them to actually sit down to understand that if they basically fail to do this review in the pricing index, they would have to be forced to leave the market. And the truth is that you and I would not be able to communicate, as we're depending on their infrastructure, even though it's a paid service, to actually have this conversation. So these are some of the reasons for which they are also reviewing the price. The least we can do is for us to focus, just like I said, our resources, our advocacy, our activism, and our commitment to build this country, and force the government to reduce the price of PMX, reduce the price of energy tariff, reduce the lending rate, and most importantly, review as in the value of the naira against dollar.
Okay. Mr. Richard, let us look at it from this angle, yeah? I know you are not a newbie to this. For most of these telecommunication companies, year on year, they declare interest rate, or rather they declare interest that their company has been able to gather. And if you get to look at their interest year after year, these monies have increased. So even though they have a lot to pay for, one can argue that they make interest that we can say should have covered up for whatever hike that they want to say they want to bring in. So for instance, part of the analogy that was painted is that, do you know how many calls Nigerians make per day? Do you know how many datas expire per day that these companies never were accounting for? So now if there is a change in economic shift, why 50%? Why not maybe 10%, 15%, or even 35%?
Well, the truth is that one of the most difficult markets to be in is the telecommunication as an industry. That's the truth. And I'm also sure if in recent, as in months, they've been declaring huge profits. I actually doubt that anyway, because I understand what I call the challenges they face in the market. This so-called call for a review in the price index for call and data has been around for the last 7 months. Okay, I think the other day I was watching the one television station, and they basically got some persons to promote it. Okay, and some very big firms to promote it. Okay, the truth here is that, irrespective of what we know as the fact that we are being cheated when data expires, I feel clearly that our data is not supposed to expire. Okay, but it's happening because we have a very weak legislation that would have been as a foundational in that struggle to say we're going to pass new policy decisions that will ensure that when you buy data or when you subscribe to your TV station, that subscription will not end until when it's commensurate to the number of days you utilize it, not necessarily the number of days that passes by. We don't have that legislation right now. And it's as if even the more we call for the review of this policy decision, they don't care. They don't listen to us. So if today different telecommunication operators and subscriber agents basically seems to be operating without any form of regulations that profit Nigerian people, I don't think it's up to the telecommunication as an industry to make these decisions on their own. If they even do, that will be their corporate social responsibility based on ethics of profit making. But the truth is that when it comes to the issue of profit generation, people don't care about ethics. They're in the market for money. And that is why we need the government to act. Very, very important. So don't even forget that if you look at the institutional as a framework as a regulation, it is strictly the responsibility of not just passing laws by the legislation, but also the executive ensuring that those laws passed are enforced. And then wherever there's breach in enforcement or they challenge their power to enforce, the judiciary step in to interpret the position of the law. So the truth here is that we have institutions, not only just the legislation, but also the executive and then the judiciary arm of government, not caring so much about the Nigerian people. Or maybe it is up to the citizens of this country to file what I call as a petition and then basically call for the review of the data policy of this company.
Okay.
And people like me want to fund that kind of what I call as a public interest litigation. But the key thing here right now is that that's a different case altogether. What we have to do, just like I said, is for us to mount this pressure on the people responsible for the drivers of inflation. And if you ask me who is the number one driver of inflation right now, I can guarantee you it's the government. the government increased one of the most important commodity in the country, which is the PMX. And that is itself has cascaded into all kinds of policy outcomes that today we all are the receiving end of some of this hostile policy posture of the government. And I think the government should also be sensitive enough to understand that Nigerians are suffering, things are hard, and the more the government seems to, in fact, recently they reviewed the price of PMX upward, okay? So, which also would also impact on all of us, negatively or positively, or whatever the case is, based on which industry you operate from. The truth here is that we have to direct our frustration, our anger against the people in government who are responsible for the first fundamental drive to push inflation above the roof.
There was a time in this country, you will agree with me, Mr. Richard, when coals were really high. The tariff for coals were high. We made coals as much as 40 kobo per second. I remember that time, and it was about maybe 25 naira or 30 naira for coals. And we saw the progressive drop in those rates to the particular place we've gotten now, the stage we've gotten now. And while that was happening, part of the statements were these were the dividends of ensuring that we have private sector in the market. And we know that the private sector is all profit driven, and in business it's about profit and loss. So why can't they for now shelve the losses and allow us bear some other economic issues rather than them wanting gains all the time?
Well, for me, I will not advocate for that, basically. It's like somebody saying it's fine if Sparkling FM, that is at the center of educating, informating, as in informing and then entertaining the people, to start bearing losses. I won't advocate for that, irrespective of the history of profits quality that Sparkling FM might have declared in the past.
Okay.
So we are all in the market for profits. That's the truth about it.
Mm-hmm.
The least we can do is to also look for a way to see how we can actually try the policy review. Just like I said, in several occasions, that the whole idea of policy decision is not only just to pass the policy and look at the causes and consequences of that policy, but also to call for policy review and appraisal. And the whole idea of calling for policy review and appraisal is to do three things, or one of these three things. Either to continue the policy, or to modify the policy, or to terminate the policy. The current policy of the government as regards energy pricing index in this country doesn't really make room for true as a fight against inflation. Rather, it's actually encouraging all the operators within the various markets we have in the country to try to respond. And that's why I said that the woman in Akankpa today, she has increased the price of her gari. Today, a pence rubber of gari, because I know these things, I buy this thing, it goes for 30,000 naira. While I was growing up, 30,000 naira will not only just give you close to about 4 bags, it also provides you the transportation to move it from wherever you are, let's say in Lagos, in Idioro, and you're going to somewhere around, let's say, Shomodu. But today, the 30,000 naira is what you can use to just buy a pence rubber, the small pence rubber of gari. So everyone, in the true sense, if we are honest with ourselves, we've increased the price of goods and services. Even the woman who sells eraser and pencil in the market will tell you that pencil is no longer sold for that price we used to buy it in the 80s. That right now it is sold higher. So if everyone in the country seems to be increasing their own price, why then are we saying the telecommunication industry or operators should not? When we know that they themselves, they're all just responding to the major price driver, which is the government. That's why I kept saying, wherever I have the opportunity. I knew from the one that when government start increasing the price of PMX, things will cascade into negative outcome, and we all become as in losers. And it will make people not want to come and operate in the market. That's why even why they're making all the propaganda that we're having more foreign direct investment, I tell them that is not true. If you compare the foreign direct investment under the Jonathan regime, and you put it in par with the current foreign direct investment in this regime, you discover that you cannot even rate them by even 70% in terms of relation. It's not there, because that's the reality. So nobody wants to come and operate the market where you're making your currency so weak that they will need to gather so much of your currency to be able to get to $1 Nobody would want to do that. So
Okay.
the truth about it is that at the very least, what they want to do is just to buy what I call government bond. For whatever reason, they want to do that just to make some few profits, which the government is now using to say the economy is growing. The economy, as we know it today, is not growing at the rates we're supposed to have.
Hello?
I will not be an advocate. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I will not be an advocate.
Sorry, your account is too low for the
all
destination
right.
you are trying to call. Please reach.
We will try to reconnect with Mr. Richard. Pardon us there, please, because he was making a salient point. But before we reconnect, we will want to hear from you. Do you agree with the whole tariff hike? How do you think Nigerians will cope with this? 50% tariff hike, the implication to this means if you were paying a certain amount of money to recharge or to make calls, now it will be more. Let us hear our first caller here, Yubi. Hello, good morning, Yubi.
Good morning, Sinewila.
Yes, good morning.
Sinewila, if you can remember, I asked you a question that day. Fuel subsidy removal, is it a blessing to Nigeria or is it a cost to Nigeria? You did not answer me whether it's a blessing or whether it's a cost. But from my own view, fuel subsidy removal is a cost to Nigeria. Now, why did I say so? This telecommunication equipment that we are seeing now, as your guest said, automatically anything that we are facing now, we should not blame telecommunication. Rather, we should blame the government of the day because they are the cause of our problem. When you increase fuel, automatically everything in the country is increased. Including Gary. My hope this morning is that God will bless your guest wherever he is because he's a man of truth. Let us blame the government, not the telecommunication, because they are not the cause of the increase that we are facing now.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yubi. Hello, good morning, Mr. Peter.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
I don't hear everything that guy talk for studio there. But to me, I don't see any complaint though. I'm telling the gospel truth. Those people don't have a sale. They don't carry now go compensate the full price of Gary. Waiting Gary concerned with a business where someone do, where be network. Okay, look at the people waiting for the whole war. They want the way to business night network, and they want the way to business day network. You know that I collect the Taliban number. Let me ask him and tell him something. Ask me what happened of the other guy today. I lost over 3,000 naira data for me. I not make data. I not produce data. What happened?
Okay.
This call I'm calling you now. This call I'm calling you now. Do you know more? Don't come on me now.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank
you very much. And that's exactly the angle we're coming from. How do we deal with this as a people? Yeah, because we know that the brunt of this increment will be on us. And a question I wanted to ask Mr. Richard was, if all of these services are adding up to their tariffs, shouldn't the people who get to work with these services or work for these services increase their pays as well? The request for increment in salaries, apart from the national minimum, that's minimum wage. I'm talking, there's a need for us to request for an increment in our salaries, don't you think? If everybody is adding to their tariffs. But this is what we will do, people. We will go on a very short commercial break. When we return from it, we'll continue with Mr. Richard, but we'll be open to more of your calls. People will be right back.
We talk everything. Health, education, finance, sports, transportation, agriculture, politics,
entertainment,
people and power. On Let's Talk Nigeria. Let's Talk Nigeria. Every day of the week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar. Your radio, your charm.
For us here at Sparkling 92.3 FM,
Your radio.
to be socially relevant means that we are in tune, literally connected to the burning issues of the society.
You see the conditions of the economy today, and then you now try to insult our collective intelligence by telling us that there's increase in employment in the country. We know that is not true.
It's a lie. That is fallacy.
People actually tune onto our podcast every day, not just to be informed, educated, or entertained by us.
Talk to me.
Now hungry, they catch me.
Hey, hunger, they catch you. You don't drink water?
I don't drink. I sip Gary. No way. No very good.
But also to be the agency that facilitates real change in the society.
I beg, I take God pay you. Tell my governor to pay us salary, minimum wage. I beg.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's a responsibility that we recognize and take seriously. On Sparkling 92.3 FM, your radio, your shine.
From the first beat to the latest hit, we'll brighten your day one song at a time on Sparkling 92.3 FM. Your radio, your shine.
This is a replay of Let's Talk Nigeria on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar, making Nigeria better one conversation at a time.
We talk everything. Health, education, finance, sports, transportation, agriculture, politics,
Entertainment.
people and power on Let's Talk Nigeria. Let's Talk Nigeria. Every day of the week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar. Your radio, your shine.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Nigeria, broadcasting live on Sparkling 92.3 FM, your radio, your shine. Before we went on that very short commercial break, we were in a conversation with Mr. Richard Inoyo, and we were talking about the recent approval of the federal government for a 50% tariff hike for telecommunication companies, and the reasons that they cited for this was increase in operational cost, starting from energy to inflation to other issues that they cited. But you can call us up now before we reconnect back with Mr. Richard. Let us hear your pitch before we go back to him. 080-923-00022 or 0812-723-7060. Once again, 080-923-00022 or 0812-723-7060. Hello, good morning.
Family.
Yes, good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, my name is Uncle Joe, calling from Itagbo.
Go ahead, Uncle Joe.
Yeah, please, I'm talking in respect of what the finance minister was talking about, the tariff hike, praising it. I'm completely against it. The reason that when the Okonjo-Iweala was the finance minister, we can check the dollar to naira at that time. You see that things were better because we have a good finance minister. But it means what he's saying is incompetence that makes him saying all what he's saying that he's appraising it. To me, I'm against it. But then coming to the network provider, they can go to alternative means without using diesel. If you use the solar panel, it's everywhere now. People are using it to power their house, no matter how big the house is. It depends on the capacity. So okay. I feel that if they go that way, they will really, reduce the cost of spending on diesel and whatever thing that they think they are using in respect of power.
All right, and thank you very much for your point there. Yes, nice point raised. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning to you, Pastor Cornelius. Let us hear from you.
Yes, mine is not the hike. Mine is the network problem. You try to call Sparkling FM, you cannot read them. Try to call your loved one, you cannot read them. When you are in problem, try to reach out to somebody that the person can run to help you. There's no way. If they can work on their network, all the problem we will not complain.
Okay.
After all, when the friend came, we were paying. SIM card I bought SIM card of 40,000 naira in those days. All the SIM cards.
I remember those days, yes.
Yes. But if you get the phone, you are a very rich man.
All righty. Mr. Cornelius, yes. Thank you very much.
Their network problem.
Okay, network, yes. No problem. Hello, good morning.
William.
Yeah?
So-called standard organization, do we still have it in Nigeria?
Yes, is existing.
Is it just on newspaper or we have it, they are working?
They should be working.
No, they are not working. Because all these complaints that we are complaining now, if we have standard organization in Nigeria, this complaint of you are calling somebody when the phone is not off and they will be telling you the number is switched off, they're supposed to switch it to action to tell this telecommunication that they should do well before increase anything tariff. Now we don't have it because we only have it on paper, but we don't have it functional. That is corruption. So everything go back to corruption in Nigeria. If they want to increase something, it's not a bad thing, but how is the servicing of the thing that you are increasing? That is the problem.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for that call and for the position that you have there. 080930002208127237060. While we'll be waiting on your call, we will reconnect back to Mr. Richard Inoyo as we look to just wrapping it up with the conversation because we still have Africa Check to go with later on. But let us reach out to Mr. Richard now, as all of these questions that you have asked, we can go back to them, or rather go back to him and ask him since he's an expert in it. But okay, so let us go back to Mr. Richard now. Thank you very much for coming back with us, Mr. Richard.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. Now, Mr. Richard, a lot of people are saying part of the factors that were mentioned why these telecommunication companies will want to increase their prices is because of energy, which is like power supply to their company. And one will ask, why is it that they will not look for other sources of power supply like solar, which the world is embracing?
Well, I think all your callers are right. Everything they said, I also try to follow up on their calls. All your callers are right. They came up with very important, as in what I call, suggestion, not only just in the area of the energy requirement to power using alternatives, and then the need to improve services before, as in prices are raised. All of those arguments are very important. But then the question now is, would a company wants to increase the price of its services when the company knows only that by adopting new energy, what I call as in mode, it will enable them to be able to power their plants at lesser cost. I believe these companies are aware of what the system can actually do for them. Now the question is that why are they not adopting it? Or maybe they feel such may not be sufficient enough to meet their goal, especially at night. But then the arguments will still come that this energy system seems to have as a storage facility for energy that they can use to power during the low sun period. And then they could also argue that what happens during the rainy season when you have less sun and then you also need to power the entire country. So there is so much back and forth on this matter. But for me, I still think all the callers have their own as in way to go. But the key thing is that how come as in the raw material for energy, let's take for instance PMX. We have over 70 billion barrels of crude oil beneath the soils of this land. And then if you go down to a place like Yako, there's so much minerals that can be used to power as a new energy objective. Why is the government not even doing anything to reduce the costs we incur in accessing the end products of energy as a food energy in this country? So it all just boils down to bad leadership. Okay, and that's just what we have today. But I was seeing the government investing more on elite residents, elite offices, buying of cars and private jets for their friends and themselves, and not even investing in critical infrastructure and reducing the prices of energy that we all truly, honestly desire. If you look at the presidential speech at the start of the year, the president won't boast. Somehow he boasted and said that the price of PMX has reduced. So I think they did that just for them to be able to kind of misrepresent the situation globally from the Nigerian perspective. But we know why they're doing this thing. If they know that it's a good thing to reduce the price of PMX, that's why the president has to boast about it. So the key thing here is that let's also use our energy and advocacy to go to the root causes of this new responses we're seeing from operators within various industries. Even one of the caller that called, he actually said he's into furniture business, right? If you ask him right now, he will tell you that the cost of buying his chairs and tables and all the furniture has increased. That's the truth about it. Even himself will not be selling the rates he used to sell before. So these are the issues on ground. So let's look at why are we having rising inflation in this country.
Okay.
I can tell you clearly it's not because the telecommunication industry wants to respond to the inflation, but because we have a policy, what I call parameters we're operating within, created by this government. In fact, this government seems to be interested in creating problems. Wherever there's no problem, they're creating problems.
Mr.
In the
Richard.
past, they'll tell you that their friends, they'll tell you today their friends who used to drive big cars now drive small cars. So they are telling us don't make calls anymore.
Mr. Richard, Mr. Richard, let us leave that now, right? Let us leave that. Let us look at something else, and this one is regulatory oversight. Can we say that the Nigerian Communication Commission could have mitigated this hike by addressing inefficiencies within the telecommunication sector? Part of the inefficiencies, there are a lot of them. Nobody gets to hold them during downtime of internet services and Nigerians pay. Nobody gets to respond to also talk to us when calls are not connecting and emergencies. Businesses have lost millions, billions of naira because they were not able to make calls. Yeah. So now let us look at all of these excesses and inefficiencies. Could it have been maybe better off if they were properly checkmated?
Well,
where we have companies coming to declare their asset, declare their interest, and everybody is well informed. Because right now we don't know the magnitude of loss that they are saying they're incurring, because we do not know the amount that they had gained over the years.
Well, you see, historical profits is very important when you want to make decisions. I agree. But then, current market realities today, you have to actually respond to new development in the market. If you want to live in the past and why the reality is staring at your face, such unmourned as an approach would destroy the business. So you cannot disconnect from reality and say because in the past you made so much money, then new market forces seems to be holding you hostage and you don't want to respond. You will just collapse and the business will fail. And thousands of Nigerians working in the telecommunication industry will lose their job and they'll go back home empty-handed and there will be no food on the table for their kids and their wives will react. That's the truth about it. And also their husbands will react for those husbands without job. So the truth about this whole thing is that irrespective of the historic profit they've declared, these companies are incentivized to look at the current market reality and to respond appropriately to the developments within the market. And that is the reason why we're seeing these policy responses. They themselves are just basically, I don't use the word guinea pigs in the experimental milieu, but the truth about it is that they are also responding to developments largely driven by government as an attack on the economy. Because what they are doing right now, increasing the price of PMX, businesses are closing, things are hard, people can't even eat 3 square meals a day. We saw in one of the universities, I don't want to mention university, professors were going to queue for food. So this is where we are right now. So the whole thing, just like I said, the government came in to create problems. They are solving. There's no one place they can tell me the government has solved one problem. They went into the energy market in the name of reform. We are paying higher in energy. The quality of service has not increased. They went into the PMX market and said they want to address the PMX problem. What are we doing today? We're buying fuel at the rate of over 1,000 naira. And then even the 1,000 naira you're buying for a liter is not a liter. The other day I paid 5,000 naira. The PMX they gave to me could not even fill a 4-liter rubber. So what is the issue? So when it comes to regulation, we've seen failure on the part of government to hold not only just the government accountable, the operators of the government accountable, but also the extra, as what I call public organizations operating within the system. So if you depend on the regulation right now, they themselves, I don't want to use the word compromise, but they're not living up to their objective. And that is why a police station can actually cheat me, broad daylight. That is what is going on in different markets. So if you fail as a country to hold operators within your market accountable, nobody will do that for you.
Okay.
Maybe somebody's looking the other way, putting as kind of piling up his pockets with money. We don't know. But the key thing here is that when it comes to regulation, we're not doing well. That's just the truth.
Mr. Richard.
There's no transformer.
Mr. Richard, you have said that, but let us now look at consumer protection. Yeah? What measures should we be putting in place, or what measures are in place to ensure that consumers get value for either their money or the increased tariffs, such as improved network quality, coverage, and all of that, because it's part of the people's complaint?
Well, you see, I remember that if you follow up the Federal Consumer as in Protection, as in Commission, the ex-chairman that was sacked, you know why the man was sacked? The man was even saying that government has to pay money for not living up to protecting customers. The man, the chairman, check it, Google it. They sacked him for making that statement. Today he's gone. So if we want to talk about customer protection, let's start with the government. The government has to protect the Nigerian people. The government is not doing its work. That is why, it's just like when you don't treat your wife well, everybody will just want to treat her anyhow. Okay. Because they study how you treat her. So they treat her the way they feel you treat her. But if you treat her well with so much respect and all, people look at her and they're scared because they know clearly that they don't know what's coming if they try something stupid. The same thing is applicable how you govern a country. Where the government seems not to treat the citizens as human beings, just like the last said, animal won't give human rights. This is where we are right now. So if at the end of the day, the government cannot protect its own citizens, you expect outsiders who are foreign companies operating within the market to protect us. Let me give you a very quick example. We went to Abuja, I think 2021, as regard the petroleum industry as in bill. And we sat in that hearing in the National Assembly. We're fighting for increase in the OPEX, the operating expense of the company as regard percentage that comes to the the host community. Government officials in the National Assembly stood up against us in favor of international oil companies, and the law was passed. So what are we saying? So this is the government that basically tells you indirectly that we are willing to defend foreign organizations operating within this country and defend what the citizens want, as long as they who operate at that end of affairs, they are big in terms of benefiting from the policy that is about to be passed. And whosoever suffers at the end of it does not really matter. And don't forget that when we use the word politics itself is the study of public policy. And public policy is a function of who gets what, when, how, and why. So at the end of the day, the question is that who is benefiting from the policy? Okay. And let's not forget that we're talking about authoritative allocations of value to either the public or to people in the government or the company. So the issue here is that how does the government share the resources in the country? It's what we're talking about today. So the government feels that it doesn't matter if you and I basically pays higher for calls, as long as other persons somewhere seems to be giving them what they want, and the people are also getting what they want, the citizens can actually be run under the bus. This is the issues we have. So when we talk about customer or consumer protection, it has to start with how the government treats the citizen. Currently, the government does not seem to care about the citizen. And that's why I said there are two types of Nigeria. There's the Nigeria that goes to international communities, attend all of those Geneva conventions, and then sign protocols, sign conventions, and sign treaties to defend the human rights of citizens within the country, including our economic rights. And then another Nigeria that operates within the Nigerian as a geographical map, where the cashew protesting against something that is being done that is wrong, they either shoot you or they charge you with treason, as they did to my brother Agadalingo. Okay. So that is the situation we find ourselves here today.
Okay, Mr. Richard.
As you yourself operating that radio station, if you say something they don't like, they will start throwing charges against William. People like me will have to rise up and say no, he has the right to express himself.
Yeah.
But fortunately, by the time we're done fighting all of this struggle, you might have spent unnecessary days behind bars. This is where we are. So the government doesn't even want to fight for your own rights, let alone to even protect those rights that they're supposed to protect.
Mr. Richard, thank you very much for how you've raised your points and how you've been able to pitch in on the discourse, the topic for the morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Richard.
It's all right, no problem. So have a nice day.
And you too, Mr. Richard. Well, Nigerians, you've heard it. It's all up to us. Let us hold our lawmakers. Let us hold our elected politicians. Let us hold them responsible, because in the first place, they're responsible to us. This is where we draw the curtain. That's because Mr. Orwell Okpi is on standby for Africa Check. People will be right back. Just stay there over BACK.
Wake up feeling fresh. Wake up ready to conquer the day. Wake up knowing there's a morning show put together to give you all you need to start your day. No doubt. The Sparkling Morning Show.
It's the Sparkling Morning Show.
The Sparkling Morning Show is up early to keep you in touch with what is happening right now. Right here and all around the globe. It's the morning radio show just for you. Only on Sparkling 92.3 FM. The Sparkling Morning Show. We got the latest in sports from around the world and in our own backyard. Plus, business news, breaking news stories, fresh as they drop. Join us every morning weekdays from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. for the news you need to know and more. Only on Sparkling 92.3 FM. Sparkling Morning Show. Just for you.
Let's go.
All right, so welcome back, Crossoverians. Welcome back, Nigerians. It is now time for Africa Check, Fact Check with Africa Check. And we have with us Mr. Orwell Okpi, all the way from Africa Check. Good morning to you, Mr. Orwell.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Oh, you sound far away from your phone, but it is okay. Now, let us check this particular case here that Africa Check has deemed worthy for us to fact check and double check. And it has to do about this particular story where it says, ignore fake images of attack on Nigeria's central bank. According to this story, it says several Facebook posts claims that the Central Bank of Nigeria, or the CBN, has been attacked. The CBN is Nigeria's top financial institution. It is pivotal in the country's financial and economic management. Let us talk about this post. How did you find out about this and what have you done?
Yeah, I mean, the post in particular was, of course, came along with an image showing, like, was like, supposedly an aftermath of the so-called attack, where you had something that looked like a bank, with, things scattered all over the place, and all that, and then it also had like the logo of the bank, and trying to say, okay, this is like a photo that was taken after the so-called attack, and that post was shared quite well on Facebook. So and okay, like just one of the was actually written in Hausa, it was translated. I read something like an attack on Nigeria's major bank in Abuja, where many people are being threatened with $100 billion. And they claim that the incident happened on Christmas Day. That about 2024.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, you can imagine that kind of, claim, and I mean, assuming that happens to be true, I mean, that will be a major event. Right. So, but I think that we notice, sort of a context to it is that, on the and there was a comment that government actually carried out the attack, so that they can then move the headquarters of the CBN to Lagos. And you know that there was that issue sometime last year, where there was the talk that government of President Bola Tinubu.
Yeah, that the federal
is
government
trying to
were
move
moving the
everything.
CBN to Lagos.
Yeah, they're trying to move everything to Lagos, including CBN, and it was quite controversial
Yes.
then, right? So that's another, sort of narrative that went with this. So, they sort of wanted to destroy the one in Abuja so that they can have that as an excuse to move the headquarters to Lagos. We looked at, obviously that photo is the only evidence that they provided for this claim of an attack on Abuja and on the CBN in Abuja. And you know that if indeed something like that happened, it will be major news, right? There will be headlines in major newspapers, TV station, radios, and all of it. And it will be very easy to find. But we checked. There was also no credible report of CBN attacks. And that's very clear sign that cannot be true.
Okay.
Because it can happen without being reported. And then of course, we have to now look into the image, right? One of the challenges behind these days is that when you do reverse image search for certain images, you might not find any result whatsoever, and that's usually an indication that you might be dealing with an artificial intelligence generated
image,
an AI generated image, and this was the case in this one. Like, one of the things that we noted is that the images that were shown, the photos that they used, had the watermark of rock, right? That's the AI name of the platform X, right? That's about Twitter, right? So, and that it was a clear indication that those photos will have been generated using that AI tool, and that was quite an evidence that someone had generated an AI image claiming that this is central bank in attacked and destroyed, to say, and early it shows us that the need for people to be a lot more careful, because some of these AI images now they defy the previous techniques that we use to check images, which used to be very much reverse image search. Like this one, if you search it anywhere, you're not going to find it because it was just created with AI, right? And just to have a few good tips on how to look at this. Obviously, like in this case, there was this watermark, right? Some of the AI tools, especially when you're using the free version, they leave the watermark there, so you can easily identify it as that. And like I said earlier, if you do a reverse image search and you don't have any result whatsoever, one of the possible reasons for that is that it's AI generated.
Okay.
And then also, like in this case, you can also compare with original images of the place. For instance, we compared the image with original image of CBN headquarters in Abuja,
and it did not match,
and they don't look alike.
Okay.
They don't look alike, right? So those are some of the things that we applied in this case, and you can also apply in any other case dealing with AI generated image.
All righty, Mr. Owo, thank you very much for this fact that you have checked, and thank you. We really want to appreciate you, because Cross-Savarians are benefiting from this your rigorous work. Thank you very much. It's creative. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, sir. And this
Thank
is
you
where
very much.
we draw the curtain. But then if they have more facts to check, they can always reach out to you, or where can they go?
Yeah, so you can check our website africacheck.org, or you can reach out to us on social media at africacheck_NG on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Or you can send us a WhatsApp message on our WhatsApp line 09083777789.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Orwell. Thank you very much. Perseverance, this is where we draw the curtain for today, and we're saying thank you very much. But remember, before we leave here, that Nigeria is all asked to build. Everybody would have to be intentional about the level of work that would be putting in, and we will ensure it works and it grows. Yeah, because this is our only Nigeria. We'd have to leave a Nigeria for our children and children. Yeah, we're saying thank you very much. I am Sina Williams Ojeka. God bless you all.